Hey, we want to welcome everybody in and thank you for joining this conversation. We think it's very, very important the community of Amarillo can get, a chance to hear you guys' views and then make a decision on that. But rather than like a 20, 25-second soundbite from television, when you give a legit 3-minute answer and when they cut it, this is your chance to just speak out, and that's why we're doing that. We're very thankful you're here. We also, Alex and I want you to know that we applaud your courage, and courage is the right word to put your name on the ballot to try to win a public office. So, and give your valuable time. It's your personal time that you're giving. So we want to applaud you guys before we even start all on that. So this is the place for, obviously, and we have Gunny Brown.
Thank you.
How are you today?
I'm great. Yourself?
I have no complaints whatsoever.
Right.
John Ingerson. John, how are you?
I'm good. Thank you for asking.
You guys all know Alex?
Yes.
Obviously, Claudette Smith. Claudette, how's it going?
It's going.
All right, yeah. And Les Simpson. Full disclosure, I worked at the Globe News for 38 years. Les was my boss.
Les, you better watch out.
No, I'm about to pay for a lot of things.
I finally get to ask him why I didn't get that raise. Okay, you know what I mean?
Or more space in the sports section.
More space. That was more important. Exactly. No. So we just go full disclosure here, but we want to start it out just with a general question. Instead of starting with each of you describing you, okay, please describe the voter that would be inclined to vote for you. Let's just go ahead and start with you, Gunny.
Well, the voter that would be inclined to vote for me is any citizen in Amarillo, because I am, pretty diversified in my actions around town. 1 minute I can be sitting in an NAACP meeting. Next minute I can be the director of the Amarillo Hog Group. I can easily go down to East Ridge, East Side. So any voter in Amarillo will be able to relate to me. And my actions prove that through my community work here in Amarillo.
John?
Lance, I believe the voter that would be most likely to vote for me would be the guy or gal that's looking for change. I believe there's an incredible opportunity this time to see our city do some things differently than we've done them in the past. And I just believe I'm the guy for that change, and that's why I'm running.
Claudette?
I think the voter that is most inclined to vote for me would be someone, obviously, as John said, that wants to see a change within our city. I think business owners are inclined to vote for me because I am very pro-business, pro-small business. Just anyone who's looking for a change and who doesn't like the way things have been going in our city, people that are not happy with the trash services and all the issues that we've been experiencing over the last, 6 years or so. I think that's who's most likely to vote for me.
Les?
Yeah. I think a couple of things come to mind. I think the voters that I think would want to vote for me is someone that has done their homework, spent a lot of time. I think you ask anybody that's ever run for council or served on it, that's the most important thing that you have to do is do your homework. And I spent the last 20 years doing that homework. I think the second thing is you have to be able to make decisions without fear of what decisions you make, nor favor of who they favor. You have to make independent decisions to be able to do that. And that's what I would apply to serving on the city council. So I think doing your homework, making independent decisions, and getting all sides of the story before you're making any decision about what to do.
Yeah, this is a really, to your point, John, this is a great and interesting time because it's going to be a whole new, commissioners, mayor, the whole thing. So this is quite an opportunity.
Could I ask a follow-up on the change? So is it just the same change that it seems like in every race the guys running say? Is it just, or
is this a different feel?
It
seems to us it's a different feel this time.
Well, as we all know, all change isn't necessarily good. So I just believe that the city's ready to I think the citizens are ready to get their city hall back. And I think that's the change that we're looking for. Economically, we're doing pretty good. We got that news about the second fastest growing economy in Texas.
Yeah.
We're doing some things really well, but I just believe that the people are ready to be treated a little bit differently.
I personally feel that the people are ready to be heard. Right now, there's a small group of people that are running City Hall, and so the people want to be heard. They're pushing their agenda and silencing out the rest of the city, the voters that they were elected to represent. And so I think that's the most important thing when you're talking about change. They want to be heard, and they want to be represented properly.
Yeah.
I find it interesting that the issues that are coming up in this election, none of them are new. We've been hearing about them for quite some time. The question is, why hasn't anything changed over whatever years that it has been?
Yeah.
And I can tell you why that is government is bureaucracy. And if you don't have laser focus on what you're wanting to do and you stay to that laser focus, the bureaucracy will overwhelm you. And I think that happens all too many times. And then the other thing I think sometimes people forget is when you're elected to serve, whether it's city hall, school board, whatever it may be, you don't become part of the government. You're not part of them. You're the last line of defense for your community. You're serving your citizens and community. And I think a lot of times when you get in there, it is so easy to get overwhelmed with that bureaucracy that if we're going to change things, we've got to be laser focused and persevere on these key issues that citizens are telling us that are very important to them.
Okay. Change, that's a buzzword. You know, everybody always want to talk about change, but change is automatic. You know, as a combat Marine who led Marines into combat, I used to always, the last thing I told my platoon when I left them was that when Gunny such and so come in here, don't say, well, this is the way Gunny Brown did it, because change is automatic. No matter what takes place, you're always going to have change. But people had come to the realization that, hey, if I put the word change out there, ears pop up like a hunting dog. That's automatic. That's the reason you'll never hear me talking about change, because I know it's coming. That's the reason I talk about stuff like trust. Because to get good changes, people have to trust you. They have to believe you. They have to know you. To me, that's important. So you'll never hear me say change, because I know change is coming.
Yeah, and to follow up on that, to continue on this, the trust factor, no poll, this isn't scientific, but if you walk the streets of Amarillo, which you guys do, you know the word trust had been lost at the commission and the mayor office. How can we bring that back? Les?
I think the key thing, and you've heard this a lot during the election, but it's transparency and communication. I think the first thing that you have to be thinking is making sure the citizens are the owners of the government. They own it. They deserve to know not only the problems, not only the good things, but the problems.
Yeah.
I found it very interesting that we had two issues in the last several years. One is sanitation. The other was the Thompson Park pool. There was no communication about either one of those concerns or issues until it was a crisis. And if government's not transparent to telling you not only the good things, but the problems, the citizens are not going to have any trust in you. And also, there was no need for it to rise to the level of not being able to pick up the trash once a week. It was like it was sprung on us. Now, when they decided, hey, we're going to get it fixed, they got it fixed in 90 days. Why was that not fixed before? It's because they weren't transparent. And I don't know, they might have even been transparent with the council to let them know that it was a problem. But that transparency, communication, whether it's relationships or government, if you're not communicating, if you're not transparent with your friends, your spouse, or whoever else it is, you're not going to have any trust, and you're certainly not going to have it with the voters, because it's hard to do that. It's hard to communicate with them. You just can't put it on the website and say, here it is, read it. You have to be proactive about that, and I think that's the part that we're missing.
Gunny, you mentioned the trust.
Yes, and that's one thing. You know, the first day that you step in as a city council member, you have positional leadership. That's positional leadership. You have a title. The next step is promise. You have to make promises to people. People have to believe you. And the only way you get that is by touching that skin. You have to be out there in the public, walking and talking to people, letting people know that, hey, I'm there for you. Talk to me, tell me, and you have to be honest with them. Like I tell people all the time, one thing about leadership that people leave out all the time, you have to make the tough decisions. And when you make the tough decisions, you have to stand by those decisions. And that's the reason I'm doing right now. I'm out there walking the community, because on May 7th, one of us is going to lose.
Well, three of us.
Well, three of us is going to lose. One's going to win.
Yeah.
But what is the other three going to do after that? Are they going to go back to their regular days, or are they still going to be out there in the community working, trying to build that trust up so they can support the one that wins? And that's what I'm working on right now, and that's what I believe we need here. And the last city council, that's one thing I think they omitted in their day-to-day life. There wasn't too much out there in the real public, only a select group. And that's not what I'm trying to do.
John, you've heard the talk of the non-trust, obviously. What's your thoughts?
Lance, for me, trust begins with honesty. It's just lay it out there, good, bad, ugly, whatever it is. But you have to be someone that is trustworthy. And trust is something that it's hard to get back if you've lost it. We have a lot of work ahead of us. There's a pretty big divide right now between the citizens and our local government. I think that until we restore that trust, it's going to be hard to really move forward. But I think if we hire trustworthy people, we can get the job done. I told somebody the other day, Cole's not going to have to worry about rebuilding trust. Cole has the citizens' trust right now. He can get to work day one, and we have to be people that are trustworthy.
Yeah. Claudette?
I think that trust is something that is earned, kind of like Gunny said. I mean, you have to prove yourself. And obviously, there's a big lack of transparency at City Hall right now. So we're going to have to work very hard to earn the citizens' trust by creating more transparency. Right now, we've got a group in there. Obviously, they're partying, they're leaving. So, but we have to restore that. And so we've got to have an open door policy where we can have, right now, the city manager's office, for example, has a glass door, and you have to be buzzed in. And that's just developed in the last couple of years. We need to be able to have an open door policy where people can come in there, citizens, employees, department heads, whoever, and just have a conversation with us about the issues that they're having, or, I mean, even just to have a chat. We can start by doing that, but right now the council meetings are at an inopportune time for people to be able to attend. We have to be able to involve people in the city business, because after all, we are elected to represent the people. And so I think we make decisions irregardless of our own opinions of things, and based on what the voters want, based on what the voters want us to do. Nothing that benefits ourselves. We're strictly representing the people. And so in order to do that, there's going to have to be a lot of measures that I can't say in 1 minute taken.
It's all right.
So,
but simply a time change for the meeting.
A time change for the meeting. I mean, if you notice right now, they go into the council meetings and they don't talk about anything. Everybody's already just on the same page, besides Cole. Everyone's on the same page. It's always a 4-0 vote, used to be 5-0 vote the previous years. No one talks about anything. Okay, Mayor, a motion to approve. We're done. Rubber stamp it, and it's
So you want
bizarre.
discussion?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
The taxpayers need to know how we're spending their money, every single penny of it.
Les, there's a concern from some of your competitors that you're tied to or associated with Amarillo matters. Is this true, and how do you respond to that concern?
I am not associated with Amarillo Matters. I'm not associated with any group or organizations of people. I haven't been approached by Amarillo Matters or anyone else to run for this office or group of people. I began this journey in June when I felt kind of a calling to consider myself whether I should run for Amarillo City Council. I spent 5 months talking to people in the community, and I asked them 2 questions. I said, what do you think's going on with the city? What do you think about the city, where it is, the problems it's faced? Where do we need to go, and how do we need to get there? And I wanted to hear what they had to say. The second question is, do you think my skill sets and experience would be beneficial in achieving those goals and getting us there? And after those conversations in November, I made my decision to run for office, and that's how I came to my point of clarity about running for Amarillo City Council.
Very good. Claudette, I got to ask you this one. This is I mean, you were in the mayoral like last year, last time, excuse me, and that was a really bold move to have the hand count. I appreciate your courage. Here I am stumbling. This is why. Just want to know, they required you to pay back some money. Has that been paid back? I know it was part of the Texas election code I was reading on or something like that. Can you set the record straight for us here?
Sure. So, gosh, I wish I could go on longer about all of this. I had different reasons for doing the recount. I knew the recount was going to turn out exactly as it did,
Okay.
but I was pursuing legislation to change our voting machines, which is why I paid to do that. What happened there is that the city sent me an invoice for like $12,000. I had paid $5,000. They told me it's going to be about that. It could be a little more. And so they sent me a bill for like $12,000. And they included a bunch of things on there that by law, they cannot charge the candidate for. And so I said, this is not a full breakdown. You've given me just a couple line item things and you've billed me for $12,000. I need to know exactly what it is that you're billing me for so I can make sure that I'm actually responsible for it. I could never get any invoice from them, any broken down invoice or anything. And then a couple of weeks ago, Amarillo Matters sent out, Steve Pear from Amarillo Matters sent out a email and was telling people, oh, Claudette still owes the city $1,400 or $1,500 or whatever it is, and she's yet to pay that, and she lost her mayoral bids and blah, blah. And I was like, so when you clicked on the link, it brought up the invoice, and it was broken down, and they had written extra things on it. And I'm like, well, why does Amarillo Matters privy to this information? And for all this time, I haven't been able to get a broken down invoice. So yes, I still owe $1,500, and yes, that has been paid.
Wow. Yeah. Thank you for enlightening us with what really went down.
Sure.
Obviously, frustration over the invoice.
Yes. Well, I mean, we've gone on 2 years now, and,
Yeah.
I have yet to get it, but Amarillo Matters was privy to, because they have the back door to the city. So
I assume the question we had for Lance, are you connected with Amarillo Matters? Pretty answer. You have to answer that as a no.
Oh gosh, no.
Okay, go ahead. I didn't mean to slow us down.
That's good.
When you say connected to Amarillo Matters, when you say are you endorsed by Amarillo Matters, or do you have any connections to them? What is Amarillo Matters when we're talking about? Are we talking about you're endorsed by the PAC, or are we talking about you're getting donations from all of the people that are on the board or affiliated with Amarillo Matters?
I think that's a pretty good point. Let's keep going.
It's a very good point.
Yeah.
Right, legit. Gunny, which way would you have voted on the North Heights rezoning issue? Because in that we had Cole and Howard were against it, and then Mayor Frida and Eddie, were for the rezoning.
That's a good question. I do not live in the North Heights area.
Yeah, it's just a little.
And, and I'm in the process of right now talking to individuals about that so I can actually get full information on how it benefit. One of my church deacons is strongly against it. He's strongly against it. And then one of the, I'm going to say mothers of the church, she's all for it. Mm-hmm. So I see the benefit of rezoning it. I really do. However, though, that's my personal opinion. If elected, I'm going to go with what the people of the North Heights feel. I'm going to go with the majority of how they feel about it and whatnot.
Just go chat with them.
Just chat. That's one reason I'm trying to do town hall meetings and whatnot. So I can find out exactly what they, rather than bringing my opinion in there. I mean, I go to church at in the North Heights. I have family in the North Heights. I lived in the North Heights for a while, both as a little one and as an adult.
Yeah.
But putting my will on people, that's not me. That's not it. So right now I'm for it, but I'm not married to it.
Yeah, okay. Appreciate that. John, you served on the City Parks and Rec Board for like 6 years.
Yes, sir.
What is your single most important takeaway from that experience you had on that board?
Oh, wow. For me, it was just the love of getting to serve our community. I just believe we can make a difference. People can make a difference in their own hometown. And I just believe that that's what I was given the opportunity to do. I learned a lot. We have a lot of challenges in Amarillo. We worked as a group to come up with some good plans. I got to see, I told the guys the other day, I still go to the meetings because I may not be on the board, but I'm there. But,
yeah.
Lance, just real quick, and a minute's hard, I apologize.
No, you're good.
For 6 years I was on that board, we had $100,000 a year to spend in capital expenditures for the entire parks system. We were drowning, we were dying, our parks were suffering because of the work that I believe I got to be part of, and many other people. We educated the community. We were honest with the community about how bad it was. And today, the Parks Department has $3.4 million to spend on our parks. That's just monumental to me. We gave the citizens an opportunity to tell the city council how important parks were to them, several meetings. The citizens were very clear about what parks mean to them. And so I believe now we have a winning formula that hopefully when spring breaks, we can start pouring some concrete, and we've got new swing sets ordered and just a lot of things that I think people are going to be really proud of.
Okay, Les, I got a follow-up for you. You were the publisher of the Globe News, and for a long time. Yeah, I think you were there close to 20 years.
15 years,
15
yes.
years. And, you know, in that time, your job was to write and stories and probably some opinions. And in that time, you ticked people off over time. I had one person say to me, Les is going to have a hard time. He's made a lot of people mad over those 15 years. So my question is, you know, what from that experience either hurts you or makes you more qualified to be a city council member?
Yeah. You know, some people didn't always like what we had to report or say, but most people were glad that we reported it and said it. You have to be able to ask the tough questions without being influenced by the loud voices. You have to do that or no one trusts you in what you do. And that's the approach that we had to take. If you're serving the best interests of, at that time, were our readers, but also we served the community, even people that didn't read it, because we were watching, we were reporting, we were holding people accountable. But you have to ask the tough questions without being influenced by the loud voices. It's a principle that works in that, and it's a principle that you have to have if you're in a local government position. It's a principle that I've always followed, and I will continue to follow if I'm elected to serve on Amarillo City Council.
So were there times that people called and said, you better not do this, or I don't like what you said? I mean...
Oh, yes, yes. And, you know, my answer to them was, if it's fair, we'll run it. And sometimes it's tough. And if it's newsworthy and the citizens need to know it. And it cost us financially, and I've got a few scars to prove it. So it's part of it, but you cannot, if you allow people to begin dictating and controlling what you were reporting or not reporting, and I've dealt with a lot of people on all sides of this issue. It just wasn't one group or another. I think over time, I'm not saying it happened a lot, but it happened enough, and you have to do those things based independently, not on the influence of other people.
All right.
Not to make light of it, the sports department was always just like loved. Okay.
Yes, yes.
Not even close. Okay.
Except my kids went to Tascosa. One time I go to a volleyball game, my daughter was a cheerleader there, and a Tascosa parent was mad at me because you had put Amarillo High volleyball on the front.
The front page.
And, yes, and so, but you know that comes with the territory.
No, and so you learn to deal with different situations.
Yeah.
You know, I don't mean to make light of that, but yeah.
I mean, he just I think it's important. I think it's an important point.
I've been in it
for everybody because he was gentle, but he said several things that I can relate to. Like sometimes it's going to cost you.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's expensive. And
you know this personally.
And people, you got to be tough. You're going to have to be tough because.
And the council job is now specifically this election. You're going to have to be tough. I mean,
we said
the eyes are going to be on. Don't you guys agree? This,
very much
this
so.
council.
Yesterday, when me and Lance were preparing, he said, "Alex, this isn't time for you to commentate." So I'm commentating, and we both are okay. Let's go on.
I think one quick thing is, and I don't know what your experience. You talk to 10 different people, you get 11 different opinions. Okay. Yes. So there's not a clear-cut path in what the community wants.
Yeah.
That's why you have to be able to hear both sides of the issue, and you have to be able to make tough decisions.
Yeah. Yes.
And that's really what we'll face if we're elected.
Gunny, so first of all, when we met today, I found out where your name comes from. Does everyone know that but me in town?
Pretty much.
Okay, so I don't tell. So I'll skip that. I was going to ask you to tell people, but...
no, there are a group of individuals that do not know know that, and so I had to explain to them. You know, a lot of people name their children Gunner these days. That's a pretty popular name for children. And on my Jeep out there, my license plate says Gunny, with Purple Heart tags on it. So sometimes people are like, oh, are you a gun dealer or something? No, I'm not.
Yeah.
So I had to explain it, but yeah.
Gunny is what you were in the Marines.
That's what I retired as.
Yeah.
And that's good. Okay, so my question is, in your chat interview, you talked about single member districts.
Correct.
And I haven't done tons of thinking about that, but it's very intriguing to me. And in fact, I shouldn't answer the question, but tell us why you like, because you said you liked it, and then you also said there's some arguments against it.
There's some argument.
Tell us why you like it, and then what I don't know what are the arguments against it?
If you don't mind, I'm going to do the against first. Well, me and John here, we live in the same neighborhood.
Okay.
We live less than a mile apart.
Okay.
Okay, so technically, well, he wins, Coles win. You have 2 out of 5 members live in the same neighborhood. Okay, technically, you can get 5 people to live on the same street. And they can all run for office, and they can get elected. So we like to say we're going to be the voice of the people, and all of us know right now, this town's 200,000 strong. We're not hearing everybody out there. Even though we're trying, we're not shaking everybody's hands. We're missing people. And I believe with single member districts, we'll get those voices. Another bad part about that is you create lazy district where people, well, you know, Gunny been doing a good job over there in place 4. Leave him alone, or how dare you run against him? So that's the negative about it. I'm sold on it, but I'm doing my homework too, and I'm starting to find some things that are like, ooh, I don't like that.
You know, I just found this out by accident about a month ago, and in Midland, I think they have 6, and 4 are single members, and 2 are at large.
Correct.
That kind of, that's kind of interesting to me. But I like the part that every part of town gets represented, because we don't always have that in at large. But I mean, that's an argument for another day.
And that's exactly what I want. I want 4, 2, and a mayor, and one of those at large would be designated, would be elected as the mayor pro temp.
And at large, you and John could both run in the same place.
Correct.
Okay, Claudette, do you operate or are you affiliated in any way with the Take It in the Gas Facebook page or its predecessor page that mimic the City of Amarillo's Facebook page?
No.
Black and white, no.
Black
Are you
and white,
familiar
no.
with it?
Yes.
So no relation to it, connection, contribution, anything in any way?
Well, define really. I mean, I know who runs the page, but I don't
But you have no part of it?
No.
Let me tell you why I asked the question. It's just harsh and tough and aggressive. And my thought about it was, I had no idea what you were going to answer. Well, actually, I had people say, I think she's part of that. And so, if you were, the reason I think it's important is that if you're on a council and the fact that the people behind it are quiet is the problem. If they were like, yeah, this is me, and I say all these kind of sometimes ugly things, because if you were on the council and you were part of something that behind the scenes is and you're sitting with people who have to wonder if things that happen, maybe even in confidence, could show up, it would be disruptive. So your answer is you don't have anything to do with it, and that never would be a problem.
No, I mean, I know who runs the page, but I don't have any access to that page. I have no dealings with that page. I have no say in what goes on that page or anything like that.
And are you close to the people who run the page? Like, are they? Yeah,
I would say so.
Okay.
But
So are you okay with it?
I really don't pay much attention to it, to be honest. I mean, they do what they do, and I don't pay much attention. I mean, everyone's entitled to their own opinion, and it's freedom of speech, and it's social media, and I mean, you can't control what people do, and although that page, I would say, probably might have more traction than others, there's a lot of different social media profiles out there that do the same thing. They just may not be as harsh. You can't control what people are out there doing. I mean, you just can't.
Yeah.
Not to keep on it, had you ever heard you were associated with it?
Not the Take It in the Gas page. There was another page called Amarillo by Morning I was asked about, a lawsuit that I had with the city. I was in a deposition, and they asked me about it.
You weren't associated with that page either?
No. Well, I mean, when you say associated, I know who runs the page. It's the same person who runs the Take It in the Gas page.
No, that's fair. Thank you very much. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, John, In an email between us recently, you said, and I quote, we face as a municipality a lack of revenue from our comparatively low tax rate. This messaging aligns with a local PAC whose leaders believe our tax rate is too low. Can you explain that statement?
I will try to do that in a minute. That's probably a couple hours worth. Listen, we have some challenges in Amarillo, Texas. I cannot tell you how thankful I am with Cole trying to figure out just what the numbers are. I know you've been part of that, Alex. For 2 years, we've tried to find out what do we have, what do we need. As someone that's been in business, I think you probably could pick up a phone and say, hey, what are the bank balances? What do we need? Probably get that answer in 15 minutes. Cole's been trying to get that answer for 1.5 years. I know the severe needs that we had at parks, and I was told there was no money, and you guys on parks need to figure out which parks we're going to close. There's a good chance the zoo's going to go away, and maybe Comanche Trail.
And is that still the case today? Like there's a chance they could close?
Thankfully, and I'll tell you, the reason we have $3.5 million is because of the last tax increase in parks. That went 100% to parks. So I don't think those are at risk right now. But it's challenging. Every business in town, every business owner knows what it costs to turn the key in the lock every morning. We don't know that. We don't know what the answer to that question is. Until we get the answer to that question, I really can't even be specific. I don't think anybody in this city knows what the tax rate should be, to be honest with you, Alex.
How can that be corrected?
We have to know what we have. We have to know what it costs to run this city. And then we have to give that information to the citizens so they can decide what they want. This city's not about me. It's not about any of us. It's not about the council.
Yeah.
This city's about the people that live here.
So do you think a good council, John, not to butt in, could
You got-
easily do this?
Absolutely. You've got to communicate like we did with parks. We said, listen, the ship's going down.
Yeah.
We held a meeting and we thought maybe we'd have 100 people show up at Civic Center. After 300 people, we quit counting. We were chasing for new chairs. And for 2 hours, the citizens of this city told the council, you better fund parks. Our kids you need to fund parks. And they did. I hope there's a lot of extra money. I know you guys have been trying to chase that, Alex. Cole has been working on that. I don't know what the numbers are. I don't think you can do anything without numbers.
But it's not your feeling that, listen, I'll just say it.
Go
the
ahead.
Amarillo Matters guys have said to me the #1 economic challenge in our city is our tax rate is too low. It wasn't like so we can do parks, so we can do anything. It's just, it's too low. It's a competitive disadvantage.
Yeah.
Does anyone agree or disagree with that? Just as a principle, it's too low. We got to get it up.
See,
Quickly.
Well, I'll try. I don't disagree. I don't have enough information to know what the number should be. I know that when I look at what other cities are doing, which is not always a good way to do it, but a good example, I'll try to make it quick. I'm meeting at Cole's kickoff the other day at the Big Texan. A lady came up to me and she says, John, she said, Lubbock has this beautiful, all our concerts, we have to go to Lubbock. Their streets are really nice and their parks are clean. They've got nice stuff. If Lubbock can do it, why can't Amarillo? And I said, well, her name's Jane. I said, Jane, do you know what Lubbock's tax rate is? And I got the headlights deal. Lubbock's tax rate is 52 cents per 100. Ours is 40. Alex, our tax rate is lower than the city of Canyon, Texas. And they don't have a airport, bus service, indigent care. I mean, I don't know what the number is. It should be as low as it can possibly be to provide the services that the people in this city are asking for. And that's the goal, is to figure out what the number should be, communicate to the citizens, this is your city. What do you guys want? Do you want parks? Do you want,
I'm tempted to respond to that, but anyone else on our tax rate?
Go ahead.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
Ladies first. Ladies gave you the...
I don't think that the low tax rate is our #1 problem. I think our number one problem is, for whatever reason, we don't say yes to business and development in this area. It is too difficult to do business inside the city, whether it's planning or zoning or licensing or those types of things, and I've talked to many people who've experienced this. How do you see that? How do you know that's going on? Where is the growth going on in the city right now? It is not in the city. It's outside the city limits. It's between Amarillo and Canyon. If you look at Canyon ISD schools, they are building new schools. In Amarillo, we are looking at closing down elementary schools. So if you want to look at, and you talk about neighborhoods that are underdeveloped, underserved like North Heights, listen, they're not building businesses anywhere in town, much less, I mean, the good section, all of it is going on outside. And if we don't create an environment and culture that says yes to business, the best way to grow your tax base is through growth, not through tax hikes. And that's what we need to focus on and make it easier for businesses and developers to be able to do business inside the city limits.
Claudette?
Our tax rate is not too low. Our tax rate is too high. And the problem is we've got a lot of frivolous spending and a lot of spending on items that are not the role of city government. And it's like you said, I think that's what you said, Amarillo Matters says that our tax rate is too low. Well, they have an agenda. They have a lot of pet projects that they're pushing through City Hall, through the council members and the mayor that they've paid for their seats for. And so, of course they're going to say that because they want more money in the cookie jar for their pet projects. So, no, our tax rate is not too low.
Gunny?
You know, one thing I have told people, I make no promises about taxes. This town was founded in 1913. Taxes has increased all through those time frames. But one thing that we have to do, no matter who's on that council, there has to be a deep dive. There has to be a deep dive on where's this money going. And that's the reason no matter who's on this council, we have to build that trust. So if we do need 12 more cents so we can be in line with Lubbock, that when me, John, Claudette, or Les say we need 12 cents, the people say, if they say it, we really need it. So the taxes, that's a dirty word. That's a dirty word. I'll talk veteran to you right now. That's a suicide mission. You're going on a suicide mission. You talk taxes here. You got the one half that says our infrastructure shows by our low taxes. Then you got the other side that says taxes are high. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that I don't get upset when I get my property tax notice, and I get a discount because I'm a veteran, and I get mad about it. So it's a dirty word.
Yeah.
And
okay.
You got to walk lightly
all
on
good.
it.
Really good.
Really
This is
good stuff.
So we're ready to go to the all question, Lance?
Yeah. Mayoral candidate Frida Powell voted with the majority to approve that $260 million of debt, which voters previously rejected. Had you guys been in office, would you have voted for Frida and the mayor on this issue? Let's start with you, Claudette.
Would I have voted
With them.
With them.
for the $260 million? Absolutely not. No way. No way.
Les?
No.
John?
Absolutely not. And can I have a minute?
Yeah.
Okay. Real quick, we paid a company called Garfield to do a study to see if they could find us a partner to make that project happen. And they came back and reported this is really not a very good project. Nobody's interested, and we voted to do it anyways. There are several things broken at City Hall. I think that's a glaring one of the big issues right now. I think if your own citizens have to start suing you to keep you from doing what they're doing, I think that indicates that there's something wrong. Many people don't know this, but we keep hearing about how important the Civic Center is. But I know very clearly that we took $8 million from the Civic Center Improvement Fund and invested it in the ballpark. I have a hard time being sympathetic when I have people coming to me saying, hey, we got to spend a lot of money on the Civic Center. I'm not saying we shouldn't have done it. I'm just saying it just doesn't add up to me. So I really, they missed that one.
Yeah, we appreciate
They were not in line with the citizens on that.
Yeah, yeah. Gunny?
I was on that committee,
Yeah.
and I actually made a comment during the deliberation on that. Damned if you do, damned if you don't. Okay? Now, this is where we all agree on you must be educated. I wasn't very educated, so I really didn't know what was going to take place. It's easy to go with the flow when you don't know what you're doing, okay? So I take the hit that I said, damned if you do, damned if you don't, when the mayor brought it up. And I'll never backtrack from that. But one thing I would have done is that when the citizens started saying hell no, drop it, move to something else. Another promise I had made to the citizens, I don't want to hear nothing about the Civic Center. It's a done deal. We're not getting a new Civic Center on tax dollar money. I have told people, and this will probably be controversial to some people, I don't care if David Duke walks in here with a check for $260 million and want to put his name on a new Civic Center. Thank you, Mr. Duke. You got a new Civic Center. Because that's the only way we're going to get one now. For some of y'all don't know who David Duke is. He's a
I would have picked a different name.
No, but I'm just making my point. Making my point.
I'll tell you one other point I'd like to make with that, because I went back and watched the city council meeting where this came up. Because I was not there, I did not see it, and I wanted to go see, okay, what happened? And you go back to the transparency issue, not once in that public city council meeting was it mentioned that this was a 7-year note. Not once. It was mentioned maybe it could be refinanced in 10 years and that type of thing. And to me, when that happened, I just said, this is against the law. My familiarity with it, CO's rejected, 3 years unless you go to the voters. So I didn't even know, of course, it ultimately wound up being that. But to me, the bigger thing was just, it was such a rush. There was not a full transparency on how this was going to work, how it was going to be refinanced. Even with the tiers board, they had to rezone the Civic Center to put it in the tier zone. Well, the Civic Center generates no taxes. There's no benefit for it being in the tier zone. But nobody ever explained to the tiers committee, why are we doing this? And so that is really the thing that I think is just totally upsetting about this. Not only what they were doing, but how it was doing. And because you're never going to get community buy-in if you're not fully transparent and you're out there working on that. And that was just another observation that I had.
And I didn't mean to get off too far on that. So we should move on because we need to let them close. But I would just say, Gunny, you shouldn't feel bad that you didn't know, because that's what Judge Schauder said, is they try to make sure nobody knew.
knew.
So don't feel like you missed anything.
One thing about leadership is seek self-improvement. You learn from your mistakes. And that's one thing I did was I said, okay, I really didn't know what was going on here. I gave that spontaneous answer, Gunny type answer. But afterwards, everything started coming around. I'm like, oh, shit. So I sat down with people and started saying, okay, what are we talking about here? What's going on?
To your point, there was the transparency issue was major, right, in that whole situation.
But I'll say,
what
can I say?
Yeah, go.
I'll say that I just appreciate that answer, because I really have no problem with people making mistakes. No one's probably made more mistakes than me, just if we just own them.
Yeah.
And so make a mistake and then just own it, and then we can all get better, and we can all forgive each other and have some grace, and that's all I need in a leader. I don't need a perfect leader.
I don't want to hijack this right quick.
Okay.
But me and Les was at a group talking, and the question about the newspaper came up. And I loved it when he said, I'm not apologizing. I'm not apologizing. At that time, I made the decision, and I'm not going to apologize. I appreciate that. I mean, and that's the way I am right now with the Civic Center. I made a decision. I wasn't fully informed, and I'm going to tell people that.
Good. All right. So.
And we're going to hop into the last statement, but I had one more thing, Alex, if you don't mind. With a completely new mayor, new, everybody's going to be new on the commissioning. Is there any issue of that, how long that will take that group to bond? You know what I mean? Don't you guys agree that's got to be critical?
Yes.
That somehow there's some continuity to it? Do you think that's any issue at all? What do you think, Claudette?
I mean, I think it's great for you guys to bond and everything, but the whole purpose is for everyone to, we're not all supposed to agree on every single thing. I mean, that's mathematically impossible for everyone to agree on the same thing. So we've got to have different opinions from different backgrounds. So not too much bonding. You know what I mean? And I don't think,
I like it. I like it, yeah.
I think the key part of it is, you know, I don't know, like I say, bonding's the right word, but, you know, we've got to get to a point where we're treating each other with dignity and respect.
Yeah.
And I think we can agree to disagree. We can have vigorous debates, and we should have those vigorous debates. But there's ways you can do that by treating other people respectful, because we're all equals up there. The mayor has, I mean, the mayor runs the meetings and the mayor's the spokesperson. The mayor has no more power than anyone else. They're one of 5. And so I think, I trust the citizens are going to elect 5 independent thinkers that are going to look at the facts and make the best decision. And I think they're going to elect people that will treat others with dignity and respect, because I think that's how we've always treated people in this area, and I think that's the kind of government people want to see.
John, obviously bonding was the wrong word.
I would. But I know what you meant.
Yeah, no, I mean, there's got to be a working
consensus,
format.
maybe.
I mean, you guys got to be able to actually get a decision done.
Les said very well that we have to be agreeable whether we disagree or not.
Yeah.
I'm excited because what I see is an opportunity to do away with rubber stamping. We for far too long have, whether it's agenda driven or like Alex has said many times, whether it's a small group of people kind of steering things. I'm excited that we're going to have, I believe, we're going to have some individuals sitting in the chair that are making individual decisions about what's best for our city. And I think it's high time we had that.
Yeah. Gunny, you obviously have made your point clear on that one.
Right. But one thing I think should happen in the future, this is the reason we should have staggered elections. We should not have everybody where we can do this massive cleaning of the house. I mean, because good, bad, or indifference, you need somebody there that can actually say, okay, give you back history. Let's just say right now, and I'm not endorsing any other candidates, Frida or Cole loses. We will have a brand new city council. Where are we going to get that information? Where are we going to get the backstories on stuff? So that's the reason we need to go to staggered elections. But the bonding, we're all professional. Everybody, all 22 candidates that's running, I don't see a problem with anybody getting along with somebody else. At least I know I don't. And I don't think any one of my counterparts here will have that problem. Because like Ms. Smith said, we're here for the people. And that's the most important thing you remember. I sat in this chair for the people.
No, we do appreciate you guys being here. I mean, really enlighten us with your views and things going on in Amarillo. It's been a real joy to us. But we would like you to have a minute here or so for a final statement, something maybe we haven't asked you, something that's on your hearts. And Claudette, would you lead us off, please?
You would put me on the spot first. I think the group of guys that I'm sitting here with now is really, truly a great group of guys. I really do. And I think the voters just really need to do their research on all of the candidates that are running in all of the races, but I'm particularly speaking about my race. I think that they need to do the research on who has already been fighting for the citizens for several years. I think that some people might see me as too controversial at times, and I don't think that's the case at all. I think I just take a different approach. I'm not the all shucks guy. You know, I'm gonna get up there and fight. I'm not saying fight like me and the other council members are gonna bicker with each other about everything, but we have to come from different views, and you have to have that person that's not afraid to stand up and say, hey, that's not right. Hey, I think that's illegal what we're doing. No, let's stop, let's table this, let's go back to the drawing board again. And I'm not afraid to ask those tough questions. I'm not afraid to speak up. Obviously, I've been doing it for all these years. I've filed lawsuits against the city. I've gone before the legislature. I mean, I've gone to all of, a lot of representatives' offices and spoke with them about the issues that we're having in our city, you know, tax rates, just numerous things. I've been there. I've been the one that's doing it. I already come prepared because of everything that I've been doing. It's prepared me to have that jump start.
Very well said. Gunny?
You know, I've been sitting here and I keep on looking out at the city here. This is a beautiful view. And just like when I walk out to the junkyard and I see all those cars out there, I think about the stories that their cars could tell, you know. And that's what I think about this city. I look out and I think about what's going on in some of these homes right now. I think about the single mother that got 3 kids, maybe working as a waitress. Every decision we make is going to affect that person. I think about the person who lives far, far south side that got money to burn, so to say. What decision we're going to make going to affect them? And I'm looking at this and just saying, the people, that's what we do. You know, for 40 plus years, my job has been centered around the President of the United States, at the liberty of the President of the United States. I have done things that I have disagreed with. I have done things that to this day, I still pray about at night. But one thing I have learned in those 40 years of doing service to this great country is that everything has a purpose. There's a purpose that all 4 of us is here. And I'm hoping with the 22 candidates that are running for public office, that good ideals come from this and we make this city better. It's not about me. It's about the individuals out there that spans 12 zip codes here in Amarillo. So, like I said, on May 6th, election will be done. May 7th, I'm going to have breakfast with my wife. May 13th, I got a benefit ride to benefit the first responders here in Amarillo. That's not going to change. What you see is what you get.
All right, John?
As I said earlier, I see an incredible opportunity in 2023. But this story started for me in 2011, the first time I ran. This council didn't break it. I think they kind of shoved it off the cliff, but they didn't break it. I've been working for change for a long time because I just have felt, like many have, that there's a small group of people running the city. And I don't think that's the way it should be. But I took a little beating from the local newspaper for some of the changes that I was looking for, but that's okay. But all I knew to do was to go to work. I lost the election, but I got to serve on the Parks Board because of it. And I've been digging in the dirt, trying to figure it out, trying to do what's best. I think it's high time we had a city council that served people instead of tried to rule people. And that will be my goal. I kind of look at this. I hate the campaigning part because we're tempted to say things we don't even necessarily believe. Yeah. But I love the meeting people. I love hearing. But it really boils down to service. I'm excited about. And Lance or Alex, I want to thank you. I've done it before. I have been snowplowed before a couple times because of some of the changes I'd like to see take place, but you have given us an opportunity to not be pushed to the sides, and I appreciate that.
You too.
I'm excited for the future of my city, and I hope that people will hire me to be part of that.
Very well said.
Yeah.
Les?
I think this is the most important election we've had in decades. We are at a crucial point. We have a lot of serious issues to face. I would ask voters, as it relates to me, to think about 3 things when they go to early vote on the 24th of April and then on May 6th. One is I've done my homework. I spent 20 years doing my homework and another 15 before that in other cities. I've seen local government work, I've seen it not work, and I know the difference. Number 2, one thing that people don't know about my previous career is I didn't spend a lot of my time working with Lance in the newsroom. Most of my time was spent managing a business. And not only did I oversee business units here in Amarillo, I oversaw Lubbock. We had other locations in Arkansas, Minnesota, Alaska that I was over. $50 to $60 million in revenue and associated expenses. My job was to manage that budget with a fine-tooth comb. And when you're managing a multi-million-dollar budget like you have with the Civic Center, that type of experience is going to be crucial. And that's the second point I would point out. And the third is I've said it before, I'm going to ask the tough questions without being influenced by the outside voices, and that's a principle that I will commit to. So I just ask, as voters are determining which candidate is the best, that they would think about those things when it relates to me.
There are your place 4 candidates. We cannot thank you enough for your time today.
Thank you.
Well, thank you
Really
guys.
great job.
Really
Okay.
great job. So we
Good.
want to thank you for joining us as well. And this is why we're here today, to let them speak their minds. And you can make that decision. But most of all, go vote. Please
Absolutely.
go vote.
Yes.
Have a great day.